Hello Year 1, welcome to this week's literacy. It's Monday, and so we're going to start our Monday by looking at adding suffixes to words. We'll start with a little warm-up, so we'll look at our common exception words. Then I'm going to talk to you about what a suffix is and why we use them. And then you're going to have a go at exploring them with me. We're going to look at and est before you practice writing some of your own words or sentences containing these words. Then, these suffixes, sorry. And then I've done you a couple of sentences and I want to see if you can spot the words that contain the suffixes. So let's start with our common exception words. Now remember, Trixie loves to trick us, doesn't she? And she loves it when we get things wrong. But we are so clever, and I know you're going to do a brilliant job at this. What I want us to do is have a go at reading all these common exception words. We're going to do this by going my turn, your turn. So when my hand comes out, it's your turn to read. Once we've gone through them one time together, I'm then going to go back and I will give you a chance to have a go at reading them by yourself. Here we go. Were, by, my, some, come, one, your, has, his. Fantastic, guys. Let's go back and try one more time. This time, when I say go, I want you to have a go at reading these words. I'll go a little bit slower today, and then as we go through the week, I will speed up and see if we can read them really, really quickly. Here we go. Fantastic, well done. Now, for today's literacy lesson, you're going to need a pencil, your whiteboard and your notebook, and of course, your brilliant brain. So if you need to pause the video to get those things now, that's absolutely fine. And then just click play when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to talk about the word suffix. Now we use this a lot and we talk about suffixes, but maybe we're not sure what they are. So I'm just going to quickly talk over them about what they are for you. So a suffix is a letter or a group of letters that we add to the end of a word. And this can change the meaning of that word into being something completely different. Now there's more than one suffix and we use different suffixes to change the words for different meanings. We're going to look at this a little bit closer now. So here I have a bear, and although he's a baby bear, we all know that bears are big. So I've wrote the word big. B-I-G, big. There is my big bear. However, when I put another bear in the picture, this bear is a lot bigger than this bear. So what I have done is I have added these letters here. Now this is an E and an and together they make the sound. So I'm now telling you that this bear is big, but this bear is bigger. So we get an idea that this bear is a lot bigger. If you couldn't see and you had your eyes closed, I could explain to you that there were two bears on the screen. One bear was big, but another bear was bigger. This would give you an idea that one of the bears was either going to be taller or wider than the other bear. Now, what happens if I had another bear? Like this. Now, he's an absolutely huge bear. But I'm going to stick with my word big to explain how we've changed the meaning of the word by adding a suffix. So here I have big. Here I have my big bear. Now I have an even bigger bear. But this bear is the biggest. So by adding on that est at the end of that word, I am now describing to you that he is the biggest. So if you know that there are 3 bears in the room and one of them is the biggest, you know that he is huge, ginormous, massive. You know that the bigger bear isn't going to be as big as the biggest bear, but you know that he is bigger than the smallest bear. just by adding that suffix. Those two suffixes to the end of the same word, we can change their meaning. Now, some of you will have noticed that in big, b-I-g, I only have one g. But when I've gone to bigger and biggest, I've had to add another g. And there's a reason for this. If we have one of these letters, we call these our vowel sounds. If we have one of these, and there is only one of these letters down here after it, these are called our consonants. Like if we go back to big, we have our I, which is a vowel, and then we only have one g. So if this happens, we have a simple rule. We're not allowed to just have one consonant after a vowel when we're adding on our suffix. So what we have to do is we have to double that last sound. But we only have to do this for words that have an a, I, o, or a, one letter before the end. So we don't always have to do this rule. This is just if after that vowel sound there is only one consonant, we have to double it. It's a bit like our rule for our split sounds, isn't it? Because they're not allowed to sit next to each other because they chat, chat, chat. Well, we could almost say the same for these, couldn't we? We can't have this sound sitting too close to our suffixes because they chat, chat, chat. Right, let's get on and have a look at some other pictures. Now, here I have some ants. We all know ants are small. So this is a small ant. But this ant is smaller than this ant. You can see I've added my again to make this happen, to change that word so that we understand that this ant is smaller than this ant. And then I've added the est suffix onto the end of small to say that this is the smallest ant. So now, anybody who couldn't see these pictures would again have an idea that there were 3 ants. They would know that one was small, one was even smaller than the smaller ant, and that there is an even, the smallest ant was absolutely tiny. So, today, what we're going to have a go at exploring is trying to look at adding or est to our words. So I've given you here the root words. Now we call them the root word because that is the word that exists before we change it by adding our and our est. So here we have big. So we're going to change this to bigger. We're going to change small to smaller, and we're going to change dark to darker. So here we go. You can see I've now got my bigger bear, I've now got my smaller ant, and I've now got a darker shade of blue. So just by adding that suffix, I have changed the meaning of these words. I've given you a better understanding of what these images look like. I can do this again by adding est. So instead of adding the I could say I have the biggest bear, I could have the smallest ant, or I could have my darkest shade of blue. So let's have a look and see what those words look like. There they go. You can see, again, I have taken off the suffix, I've gone back to my root word, and this time I've added est, and I've changed the meaning of the word. So now I have my biggest bear, my smallest ant, and my darkest shade of blue. I could write these into sentences, and that's what I've done here. So I've gone here, the circle, the colour of this circle is blue. I could say it is dark blue. This shade of blue is darker than the blue circle above. So now we've got an understanding that this colour is darker than this colour. Even if I couldn't see, I would have an idea that the top circle was not as dark as the second circle. And then this bottom sentence I have wrote, this is the darkest shade of blue. Now, I have changed my suffix again, and I'm telling you that this is the darkest colour. So even again, if you couldn't see, you now know that there are 3 circles on the page. One is blue, one is a darker blue, and one is the darkest blue. And I've just changed the meaning of that word by adding the and the est. Now, you can see here, I've got some other sentences for the ant. So ants are very small. The next sentence says, this ant is even smaller. And then the final sentence says, this is the smallest ant on the page. So just by changing the suffixes on the end of the word small, I have been able to write 3 sentences about the pictures. Now, sometimes, even when the adults are writing sentences, we can make a few mistakes. So I want you to help me here to spot what my mistakes are. I know that I've made some, but I need your help. So maybe you could pause your screen, have a look through and see what's wrong with my sentences. Okay, so the first sentence says, there are 2 bears that are bigger than this bear. There are 2 bears that are bigger than this bear. I could see a few mistakes. The next sentence says, this bear is biggest than the smallest bear. Doesn't really make much sense, does it? I wonder if again you can have a pause and try and work out, what have I done wrong in my sentence? And finally, this is the big bear. Now I can remember for sure that when we looked at that huge bear down there, we said biggest. So I know definitely something is wrong here. And I've also spotted that this isn't right. Do you remember that rule I said, if there is a vowel sound, we have to double the letter that comes after it. If that's the last letter, it needs to be doubled. So I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Oh, and this is wrong. It's not then, it's a than. So this should be an ah. There are quite a few mistakes on this page. I wonder if you've spotted all of the ones I've spotted. Maybe you've spotted some more. There are 2 bears. There are 2 bears. Surely that should be bears. If I'm talking about more than one bear, I should be talking about 2. So there should be a s at the end of this word too. My goodness me, in that one sentence, I can spot 1, 2, 3 mistakes. Did you spot all 3 of those mistakes too? If so, well done. Now let's look at the second sentence. This bear is biggest than the smallest bear. Oh, there's that then again. It should be than. Should be an ah. And oh, biggest? Is that the right suffix? Would it not be better if it said this bear is bigger than the smallest bear? I think there are 2 mistakes that I can spot in this sentence. Did you get the same 2 as me? And the final sentence, this is the biggest bear. So this big needs to change to this one here. This one just needs to come down here, doesn't it? To say this is the biggest bear. Well done if you spotted all of my mistakes. Now, today's activities are going to look a little bit like this. So we've just looked through all of these examples together. We've looked at our and est. All that's different is I've changed the words so that you can now have a go at writing these words with the suffixes and est. So if you want to have a go at doing the green task, you could ask someone to help you to draw a table like this one. You can have the root word. Remember, the root word is just the word that we start off with. It's not been changed yet. And then we're going to have a box where we add the suffix and we're going to have a box where we add the suffix est. Now, what you need to do, like I did back here, is you just need to go across and spell those words correctly. So if I just quickly flick you back through to yours, this is your example here. So you've got loud, so you're going to change it to be louder, and loudest. I've left you a space in the bottom in case you can think of your own word that you would like to have a go at doing. Now remember, we can't add suffixes to all words, so you'll have to have a really careful think about which word you could use, and you could add the suffix and est to. If you want to have a go at the yellow task, a bit like I did back up here, I wrote some sentences. I would like you to have a go at writing some sentences about these pictures. So here we have the pictures. We have a man who's shouting, he's very loud, but we have a megaphone. Now when you talk for a megaphone, it gets even louder. And then we have a rocket taking off into space. And that blast is definitely going to be the loudest out of all three of these. I wonder if you could write some sentences using the suffixes and est for me. I've also given you the word light. I've given you a little toy. Now, children's toys are very light. We don't want them to be too heavy, do we? Otherwise, children wouldn't be able to pick them up. We have a flower. A flower is very light. And we have a feather. Now the feather is definitely the lightest thing there. I would say that a flower is lighter than a teddy, but all three of them are light. So I wonder if you could write me a couple of sentences to describe those. And then I've got the word sweet. Now strawberries are very, very sweet, but donuts are even sweeter. But the sweetest food of all is definitely that delicious looking candy floss, because it's made all out of sugar. And then we've got the word soft. Now, pasta, when it's cooked, is very soft, but a cake is even softer. But the softest thing of all is that yummy ice cream on the top of that cone. I wonder if you could have a go at writing some sentences to match these pictures. And finally, if you choose to have a go at the red task today, I've made some mistakes. A bit like I had done earlier in my previous slide, I've made more mistakes in these sentences. Now, I've helped you a little bit by circling the words which have got the wrong suffixes on. And I wonder if you could rewrite my sentences for me with the correct suffix. Fantastic. Pause the screen, have a go at your activity, and don't forget to come back and join me just for a quick activity at the end. Okay, well done. I'm sure you've all done fantastic sentences. Remember to ask your grown-ups to share all your hard work on Tapestry so that the teachers can see the brilliant work you've been doing at home. Now here are my sentences, and I just want to see if you can begin to spot those suffixes now and see them. So my first sentence says, I found it harder to colour inside the lines. Can you spot the word with the suffix? The next sentence says, on the hottest day of the year, I had an ice cream. There's a suffix in that sentence too. It's a different one to the one from the previous sentence, but there is still a suffix on there. I got wetter than ever when it poured with rain. Can you spot the suffix here? And the final one I've got is it quicker to walk or drive? And that ends in a question mark because it's a question. Brilliant. If you haven't already spotted them, pause for a moment and try and find those words which contain the suffixes. And on the next slide, I'll show you the answers. Fantastic. So hopefully you have spotted these words. We have harder. So the root word was hard, and we changed that word to harder by adding the suffix er. The second word that I used was hottest. And again, the root word was hot, but this time I've added est to tell us it was the hottest day. And can you remember that rule I told you? I wonder if anybody spotted. Remember, if there's an a, I, o, or a, and only one letter after that word, that sound, we need to add another letter before we add our suffix. So that's what's happened to this word here. Now, some of you may have already jumped down and gone, oh, look, this is the same rule. See, there's the e in our wet word, and we have had to double the consonant because there was just one on its own, and he's not allowed to sit next to these two. We need to keep a distance. Okay, so we double that letter. So this is the word that we were looking for in our third sentence, which is wetter. And finally, the last sentence, we added the sound again, and this was for the word quicker. Well done, year one. I'm sure you have all made some brilliant sentences. And like I said, make sure you send all your hard work to us on our Tapestry account so that we can have a look at your fantastic work. Well done, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.